Phone Phenom, baby. One of my favorite shows Cody does, one of the most popular shows that we do. You may recognize that this is not Cody Askins. This is Landon McCarter, the much taller, much handsomer version of Cody. Just kidding. Just kidding. I think Lauren would disagree. So today, I'm handling the Phone Phenom show for you guys. A lot of times it's just good to hear different perspectives. Cody asked if I would fill in and do the show today. And so what I want to do is, I am not a licensed insurance agent. I am not an insurance sales. I am exclusively a marketer in the insurance industry. You guys know that. You know me, okay? But I have tons and tons and tons and tons of experience on the phone. My background was in the call center back when I was 19. I've always been on the phones. I did field, face-to-face sales for a stint there, but now with secure agent marketing, since we have business all across the world, really, we got clients in different continents, etc. Most of my time is spent on the phone. So I want to kind of give you some nuggets and some wisdom today for Phone Phenom from a different perspective. Cody comes at it from an insurance perspective exclusively, which is awesome. And I know you guys are insurance agents specifically. What I want to do is just kind of give you phone tips in general, just how it relates, because I'm telling you guys right now that the phone is going to be, I think, even more of a tool moving forward than it ever has been. Here's why, okay? I think that people are responding to our advertisements. A lot of our campaigns that we're running for our clients are, recruiting campaigns nationwide. They're not ever going to talk to that person face to face. They're going to recruit them by the phone 100%, okay? So I think as the world flattens out and the digital marketing sort of makes it easier to talk to people in different continents and countries and time zones and everything, that I think the phone's going to be even more important, because it's not so much that telemarketing is going to be growing. Not that telemarketing is bad, but I heard somebody say the other day that telemarketing is like the top, I think it's like the 5th largest employed group in the country, including customer service, etc., which is pretty outstanding if you think about it. So obviously, phone sales is an important thing, right? So what I want to do is I want to give you guys some marketing and call sort of tips on how the phone and marketing tie together. And that is, we're going to focus on inbound phone calls and how to sort of drive those inbound phone calls into you. Some people don't even know that you can do that. Some people don't even know that there's a thing called Google Call Campaign that you can do to drive inbound phone calls into your business. So what I want to do is I want to give you a couple quick tips from the marketing side that you may have or may not realized. First thing I want to do is the Google Call Campaign. Now, Google Call Campaign is not a pay-per-click product that Google has. It's I only pay when my phone rings, okay? Meaning, it's built inside the Google AdWords campaign, but it's a whole other segment of Google called Google Call Campaigns. Now, Google allows us, after the month runs, to, once we set the budget with them, we spend the budget. The budget only spends whenever people click on that they search on their mobile device and they say, life insurance quote, they click on the call button, okay, and then they call. That's when our account is triggered. You don't pay for being on the list, you don't pay for being shown on the list, you don't pay for anything except when a phone call is made. Now, that doesn't mean that every phone call you're going to get is going to be like primed and ready to go. Some people just kind of fat finger it, but one of the things that Google does is whenever you make that call, it prompts up a little rectangle that then you actually have to click it again. So these people have had to click twice on your ad. So they've had to Google the keyword, click twice on the ad. It's not super common that it's a mistake, but it does happen every once in a while. So that is a product that I highly encourage individuals that want to explore the getting phone calls in to your actual business instead of trying to call people out. So it's not as exact of a science, but for instance, like some of our P&C clients, we can get inbound phone calls for $5.50 up to $9, whatever it is, for these people looking for Progressive, Safeco, Allstate, whatever, those generic keywords, Allstate, car quote or whatever, then that phone call comes into you. So that'd be an inbound call. Now, the interesting thing about the call campaigns for the insurance industry is that there's no way that Google can eliminate all the claims calls. So if someone's trying to reach Progressive claims department, we can build what's called negative keyword lists to where we remove that altogether. So when that search is made, we're not actually shown. But sometimes people want to talk to the claims department and just Google Progressive. And in that situation, that would still trigger probably a call campaign. So what I would recommend you guys do is play chess, not checkers, and still take that call. And if they're looking for that claims department, just say, hey, Why are you calling them directly? Don't you have an insurance agent that can help you with this? Who's your insurance agent? Well, I don't know. I haven't talked to that guy in forever. Well, hey, I'll help you get the claims department. I'll ease this I'll help you with your customer service. I'll do everything I can, and I'm going to go ahead and send you over an agency of record transfer for you and get, us as your agency of transfer so that you can then get the renewals. Not rocket science, right? Something you can do, okay? Another thing that I want to sort of communicate is that on your website, you have got to build the phone number on your website in a certain way to where someone, when they go to your mobile-friendly website, they can just click the call button and then that rectangle shows up and then they call. It doesn't come like that by default. So you might want to go check. If you go to your website on your mobile phone and you can't click the call, just think about what people are doing. And if you want to make it easy to do business with you, and one of the ways to do that is to make it to where they can just call you straight from their cell phone. So imagine what happens if you don't have that. Okay, so I've got to remember 1-417-862-4200. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to close that. I'm going to open up my phone. I'm going to try to remember that. I may misdial it. I may be driving, whatever. Or I got to look at the phone. I got to write it down, find a pen and paper, write it down. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Here's the number. Then hang up, then call. It's more hassle. Just give them the dang number to call. I would be willing to bet there are people out there. Raise your hand. Leave a comment in the section below if you've ever not had a click-to-call phone number on a website and went to the next website. I know I've done that, okay? And sometimes it's like large purchase decisions I've done that on, okay? So that's important as well. Make sure your website is set up that way if you want to get calls. It's really, it's in the code on how you actually set that up. So you got to pay attention to that. Another thing that I want to talk about is what's called call extensions. Now that's a different sort of category of phone call campaign with Google AdWords. What call extensions are is that's when we're doing a pay-per-click campaign, not only a pay-per-call campaign, but we're doing a pay-per-click campaign where we're trying to drive website traffic to a website to then show them. So like for instance, let's just say we have $2,000 a month of budget that we want to do for pay-per-click. And let's just say that sends 1,000 people to my website. What I can do is 1,000 people that went to my website, those 1,000 people are going to see a different phone number than what the people that came organically are going to see, because there's ways that you can set that up, and that way you can track the calls that come through Google and separate them from the calls that come organically, and then look at what you're getting paid, look at what you're getting organically, and then make those decisions on what you want to do with your budget based on that. So what'll happen is those are also called call extensions. So what'll happen is that's just like another way that the consumer can convert. So they can either click through to your website and convert on your website through the call, or they can hit that call extension, right, and then show that phone number or call that number that's on the call extension, okay? And then that number is a different number as well. It's tracked, it goes to a spreadsheet, we look at the call duration, etc. Now, how do we track all this? It's a good question. It's not that hard. Google will automatically give us an export every month of the time, the call duration, I think zip code, there's some other information we can pull from that. But most importantly, it's call duration. Why do we care about call duration? Well, would you rather have a 5-second call or a 15-minute call? What does that mean? Would a 5-second call mean that's a waste of our time? That means that we spent money on nobody. A 5-minute call is what we want. So there's certain keywords and ad types that lead to longer calls than others. So we use that data to optimize our campaign to make sure we're going after the long conversation type keywords and weed out all what we call the tire kicker keywords of the people that got us on accident and didn't mean to actually click on that call button, right? So that's part of the optimization process. I promise you guys, anybody that has a heavy budget is doing this on Google. They're waiting. Google is basically a giant auction. So what the big players do is they cast this, what I mean by big players, I mean like carriers like State Farm and Allstate and all those guys. They cast this huge net across the country and they say, if John Smith in Mississippi is not willing to buy that keyword, then I'll buy it for pennies on the dollar. But if John raises his hand and said, no, I want that keyword and I'm willing to pay $1 for it, then that call that was going to go to John because the carrier bought it and John didn't, now goes to John because he bought the keyword. Do you guys understand how that works? So it's really incredible. It's a really powerful tool that a lot of people aren't using because they don't have the capacity to think about like a marketing budget, and it's all about buying leads. If you ever want to kind of like evolve your sort of business sort of marketing budget and kind of put more money into driving calls into your office as opposed to driving leads. Not that leads are bad, it's usually both, but there's a portion of your budget I'd highly recommend, and that would be the inbound calls that you get. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of walk through, I spoke with 3 people today, a very large PNC agency, a very large independent PNC agency that was not captive. So I talked to a captive and a independent today on these phone calls for an hour each. And one of the things that I shared with both of them is what I'm seeing on the call side. So one of the things that's really interesting that I see all these big dogs doing is what they're doing is they're driving all these inbound phone calls into an opener and then having the opener weed through the individual, what I would call like lower tier sort of unquotable opportunities, whatever that is, and then allowing those openers to then set appointments for their closers and kind of pass that over the fence over to the closers so that the closer can be knocked down and getting that opportunity. Now, the opener does not have to be licensed, from my understanding. Okay, now don't quote me on this because I'm not an insurance agent. I'm pretty sure that opener doesn't have to be licensed. I think you only have to be licensed to actually quote the insurance itself. So what that does is it opens it up to an actual, less qualified individual, more like a college intern, whatever it is, drive those phone calls into an opener, and then that opener can then transfer to the closer. Now, this also presents an interesting opportunity where you can then, that makes it easier to scale. So if you have, more opportunities than you do have closers, you need to hire a closer. If you have, not enough, openers for your closers, you need to hire an opener. And what you can do is you can kind of use that as like a way to scale. Any of my friends that are like doing this on a massive scale, this is how they went from, 2 million to 25 million. Was they separated their openers and closers, and they basically have all their marketing department funnel those leads into the openers. All the openers qualify whatever they do to qualify, and then pass it over the fence to the closers. So those insurance agents are just knocking down one sale after another. We just did a podcast today with Ryan Lodi, who's a field sales final expense guy, and he basically gives all his leads to his opener, and his opener sets appointments. I think he gets like 8 appointments a day or something. Keep on the lookout for that podcast. Dylan, when's that podcast launching, buddy?
Thursday.
So that podcast is coming Thursday. If you guys want to keep your eyes peeled, I think Dylan's going to do like a premiere for that podcast. But that podcast was fire. And Ryan Lodi's a 21-year-old final expense producer that knocks down, like, his goal is 15,000 of AP a week, which is bananas numbers. Okay, and he uses an appointment setter, openers, what you want to call it. But his appointment setter basically, all the leads that he gets through direct mail and digital go into the appointment setter. The appointment setter sets the appointments, and he then calls and knocks down those appointments one at a time. So to me, that is an interesting concept. He makes it seem like there's no way he could have got, like right now he's trying to figure out how to get from 15,000 to 20,000 a week, but he feels like when he went from like 5,000 a week to 15, it was whenever he shifted all his leads. And I think the guy spends like $8 or $9 grand a month on leads alone. And he shifted all those calls into his openers. They had good skill sets. One of the things I thought was interesting that he said was that he said, man, I know that I could close more appointments than my appointment setter does, but then I've got to sit there and set appointments and it distracts me. I want to be in the field. So I know that my appointment setter is only setting about 30% of the appointments that I could if I was to work the leads, but it's still that much of a cost benefit to him to not take himself out of the field and get that done. All right. So one of the things I want to transition to, that was sort of I wanted to cover on how inbound calls can work with marketing. I wanted to talk about the potential opener versus closer model. The next thing I want to get into is really something that I feel is something that I've done an okay job at in my professional career, and that is using the phone to slow down and build credibility and rapport with my prospect. What I mean by that is I feel like I do a decent job. I could always improve, but I try to take that phone call and I try to help them have confidence in my ability to help them in business, and marketing is a portion of that. So I'm the marketing guy, so I'm talking all day long to marketing prospects all day long, but what I also am able to do is help them with business and also just talk marketing as well, and just come at it with hey, you know what? Like, one of the things I have going for me is I talk to 5 insurance producers a day, you know, and so I'm able to kind of get this cross section of what's going on in the industry, right? And then add a lot of value to that conversation that I'm not necessarily charging for. I'm not necessarily trying to say, these are my secrets, you know, this is something that only I can bring you. It's more just like, look, if you work with me, this is what you can come to expect. Not only am I going to help you, you know, fulfill what we need, you can also count on me for the future, you know, and here's what I mean by that. YouTube's rolling out a new call campaign, you know, blah, blah, blah. And we get into the whole future sort of proofing the relationship. So what I try to do on the phone is I try to, you know, fact find, get a needs analysis, understand what their appetite is, what are they looking for, and then transition from the, you know, fact find into how can I meet that need now, but then I kind of know what they want in the future. So I'm trying to speak and I'm trying to future proof. I'm trying to answer the questions that they know that they don't have yet, but that they're like, oh wow, now that you bring it up, that's an interesting point. Yeah, that is going to be interesting. I do want to future proof my lead development. I do know that lead development changes every 3 months, and that it would be nice to not only have a partner that today can drive the leads that I need, but also is going to future-proof this thing for me as well. So what I try to do on the phone is I try to take my time and build rapport and really just talk to the client about what's holding them back in business, because typically for me in my business, the marketing component is typically like one of the pillars that if they can readjust or change or switch or whatever, that's going to be a needle mover. And so I try to help them see that picture, not just talk about leads. So like the conversation that I have is more about, you know, yeah, we can generate leads, that's fine. But like if the conversation just centers around cost per lead, cost per lead, cost per lead, how low can you get, how low can you get? It's like, dude, I can get as cheap a lead as you want to pay for. Then I get into like the buyer intent. I talk about a 1 out of 10 buyer intent or whatever, and I try and educate as much as I can. And it's really interesting what's happening. So I have a sales rep that, you know, has 1/50th of the revenue that I have personally, and he has twice the problems that I have, okay, in just customer service in terms of like, I thought it was going to be like this, or I want to, you know, I was unclear that this was going to be the way, or whatever. And so, you know, one of the things that I feel like you can also do by having a good phone set of skills is future-proof the potential customer service that you have. Like, okay, now Miss Betty, I'm going to be sending you a letter in mid, you know, September or whatever that is. That's going to talk about your prescriptions. And that's going to remind you to come back in. So I want you to make sure that you respond to that letter and set an appointment with my office, because we're going to, you know, look at your prescriptions and look at the new plans that are releasing and make sure that we pick what's good for you. And like, if you can kind of like, you know, communicate that, it kind of disarms them a little bit. And like, oh, okay, you're going to be there in the future too. You're not just focused on now and getting that sale now. That really helps. And that's something I've done on pretty well at, I feel like, is I try to build a relationship with these people. I try to use words like they're my friend, because they are, and I like hanging out with these people. And I also am kind of strict in a sense where I don't really want to work with people that don't understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, and like if I end up in dialogues that are, you know, your leads suck, and I want to know why they suck, and I don't ever fire back with, well, my leads are great and it's your closing rate that sucks. It's like if we start to like have this dialogue that's like that, it's like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, like we're on the same side of the table here. Let's try and figure out what's going on. Let's not try and point fingers, because I'm really good at what you do. I know you're really good at what you do. Let's try and figure this out and let's work together, as opposed to like calling each other like which one of us is dropping the ball. That's not the game. The game here is not which one of us is not dropping the ball. What matters is that you're not writing enough annual premium. It could be the leads. Okay, it could be your closing skills. Okay, but let's just talk about all the things that we can control. And here's the things that we can control, and let's look at it together. See what I'm saying? And so what I try to do is on the phone, on that first initial call, all those conversations are happening over the phone. Like I think we have one client a month come into the office. So all those conversations are happening over the phone. And but I try to do as much as I can on that first initial call to sort of future-proof what I know customer service is going to look like in the future, so that I'm like, I can always refer, now remember, Miss Betty, I told you I was going to send you a letter. You know, just be patient. You know, you can only, you know, blah, 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 you know, whatever that looks like for you. So that's one of the things that I find is interesting, is that, you know, I have, you know, tons more business than my rep, but yet he seems like he's always chasing down like problems or something. And it's like, well, it's because he didn't communicate clearly on the front side, and he really kind of just sold a marketing package without communicating a little bit better. Now, I'm not throwing him under the bus. He's still incredibly good at what he does. But I'm just trying to exaggerate the point here of you can future-proof your customer service problems by having a better phone skills as well, okay? Now, I think I'm going to end on this funny story, okay? Guys, don't be like, we just hired a kid today. I'm not sure how old he was. I'm thinking he was, do you know how old he was, Dylan?
22.
He's a 22-year-old kid, right? This is a year older than Ryan Lodi, who's knocking down $300,000 a year. And this kid came in, sat on the phones for 4 hours, went to lunch, and never came back. Nobody heard from him, okay? That's how terrifying the phones can be. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on, but some people just, they don't get it. It's so freaking them out. Like, they don't get it. They don't understand how to grind or what it looks like to grind or whatever. They don't see, I'm not sure if they saw the numbers. I mean, they're having like a record number in there. So I'm not sure if he saw the numbers and was like, man, there's no way I can do that. I'm not sure what it was, but something about the phones scared him so much that he didn't even come back after his first 4 hours of work. It's so ridiculous that somebody would do that. It's like, why would you take a job and waste everyone's time and do the training and all this other stuff to leave at lunchtime of your first day? So, I feel you guys. The phones are sometimes can be intimidating, but it's also a tool. I'm going to be cheesy, for instance. I bet you the first time the cavemen saw fire, they're all freaking out. You know what I mean? What the heck is that? It's burning down forests. And then they realized how to use it and control it. And it changed everything, obviously. I mean, that's like the dumbest example ever. But that's what I'm saying is the phone can be this scary, intimidating, oh no, what is that thing, and I'm going to try to get away from it. And that's the worst thing you could do because the phone is your direct communication with your client. And if you think you can hide from the phone and hide from that part of the job, then you're not going to be as successful as somebody that uses the phone efficiently and effectively. So being a phone phenom is not just about sales. It's also about future-proofing sort of your customer service problems or expectations that you can set as well. So guys, I know I may have took a different angle than Cody did today or would have taken today, but somebody out there needed to hear this. This is going to change somebody's perspective and shift what it is. We have a big enough audience to know that somebody out there is going to go, you know what? He's right. I'm going to look at it a little different. And that's what we do this content for, is to try and help you guys. So Cody also has a bunch of training scripts, everything in his sales university. If you ever want to take the next step and actually invest in doing some courses and all that, you can look into that at CodyAskins.com and he'll help you out. So guys, thanks for joining me on this special exclusive Phone Phenom episode done by yours truly, Landon McCarter, Cody's business partner. I'm really having fun hanging out with you guys. Leave a comment. Do we get any comments, Dylan?
Yeah, Mary Ellen just said, can you do this with final expense too?
With inbound calls, yeah, you can do that. I will tell you that final expense inbound call, okay, the answer is yes, but you have to have more than it's if you have a $1,500 a month budget and that's all that you have, you probably shouldn't be doing inbound phone calls with Google. You should probably be generating leads on social for now because that's going to get you a more controllable return on investment, in my opinion, because you got to have 90 to 120 days of Google before you really care about a return on investment. And I find the typical final expense agent doesn't really have that kind of a runway to just spend $1,500 now to find their way into the cost per call that they need to be. So I would recommend sticking with social on the final expense side, but yeah, you can do it. There are plenty of people that are doing that with final expense, but they're typically got a heavier budget in general. Is there any other questions, Dylan?
No, that's
okay, cool. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys very much. It was a fun time. Email or reach us out if we can answer any more questions for you. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself like I did. I'm off to go see a huge client in St. Louis tonight. We're going to go watch Rambo with the team tonight and then go for an all-day meeting tomorrow with one of our huge clients, and I can't wait for that, guys. So we'll see you on the next time. And make sure you sprint towards being a phone phenom because it's super important for your success. Have a great day, guys.